of your choice. I'm very excited to talk to you all about Teach for India, our mission, and the fellowship program. I'm hoping that you're joining us because you're interested in our fellowship program and the upcoming application deadline, which is on the 20th of November. I'd suggest you make a note of that. That's on 20th of November. For some of our folks who are joining us for the first time, Teach for India is a non-profit working in the education sector. We serve children coming from low income communities and homes. The Teach for India Fellowship is a 2 year full time program that allows us to work as a full time teacher and leader in an underserved classroom in a government or low fee private school. And our belief is that our fellows, while having impact on students, their futures, and their communities, also go through a deeply transformational leadership experience. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Asya. I lead the fellowship recruitment for the South region, and I'm extremely happy to have on this chat with us Nikhil Pant, who has been a 2020 fellow. Nikhil, I'd invite you to introduce yourself to the people who've joined it. Your voice is a little low, Nikhil. Yeah, Nikhil, slide better. Nikhil, would it be possible to connect um, to the earphone? Your voice is still a little low. Sure. In the meantime, I'd like to thank all the people who've taken the time to join us. And we hope that through the conversation and through Nikhil's journey, you're able to get an insight into our fellowship program and take the call to join and spread the message, spread the awareness about the need for bridging the educational inequity in our country as well. Yeah. We'll just wait for Nikhil to check with his audio. How's it going, Nikhil? Sure. Folks, in the meantime, I'll also share a bit about my experience. Like I said, I've been working with Teach for India since 2018. My role prior to this was as a recruiter for Hyderabad. I've recruited the 2019 and 20 cohort. Thereafter, I worked as the city HR for Hyderabad City, which means I've worked very closely with the fellows and the staff who support them. And I'm really glad to be able to see the kind of inspiration, the changes through difficulties that our ecosystem in Teach for India is working towards. Would be glad to hear of any questions that you guys have. So, the fellowship is a full time 2 year program. And this means that this cannot be done on a part time basis. We would require a full commitment of yours for the 2 years. And this is because of the kind of changes, the shifts, and impacts that we are trying to create for our children. We are based in 8 urban cities across India. In the south, we are in Chennai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. In the west, we are in Bombay, Pune, and Ahmedabad. In the north, we are in Delhi, and our most newest site is in east in Calcutta. So we would require to work from one of these cities. And in case you're looking at something a bit part time, you can definitely take up our volunteering experiences. An interesting question is who is eligible, who can apply for a fellowship program? Absolutely anybody and everybody who's completed their graduation. But if you are a final year student, do not worry. If you're a final year student, you can still apply because our fellowship for the 2023 cohort will be for the next academic year. So you can definitely apply. Welcome back, Nikhil. It's still, would you hold the mic closer to your mouth? Maybe that will be helpful. Yes, still better. So, would you like to just repeat a bit about yourself, the introduction you get? Yeah. Right. Thank you for sharing that, Nikhil. Definitely, the fellowship is as it is challenging, but your cohort, the 2020 cohort, joined during the COVID time. So the challenges definitely were different. It was not just about education, but like supporting livelihood that you've mentioned, right? And now you're working in RD school. You've stuck to education in that sector. Really glad to know that you persisted through the difficult years of the pandemic. That's when your fellowship was. Nikhil, I would love to hear about your journey before the fellowship. How did you find about Teach for India? What led you to join the fellowship? It's the same, Nikhil. Nikhil, maybe try to log out and log in again. Uh, yeah. Right. Thank you, folks, for being patient. We've gone through the pandemic time, so we understand the technical difficulties that pop up while engaging in a virtual space. Right. We'll take an audience question in the meantime. So far, we've had people ask about whether they can work remotely in a part-time manner, which I've answered already. They've also asked about whether they can apply for the fellowship if they're a final year student, which again I've answered yes, you can. Um, all right. What other questions do we have? We have a question about whether we should modify our application form, make it shorter for professionals like the person who's asking this question, as they have a packed schedule and they find it very difficult to apply, even if they're keen for the fellowship program and they are from the city of joy, Kolkata. Thank you so much for asking question and valid question. Um, Very valid question in terms of the time and commitment it will take for the application. And to be honest, this year we've actually reduced the length of the application form. We've made it descriptive compared to the longer essays that were present last year. And the purpose of having the form in the manner which it exists now is for us to get to know you, your journey, um, for you to be able to express your interest for coming in and joining the fellowship. Given the volume of applications we have coming in, you can understand we want the right people to come in with our children. And the best way possible for us is through the current selection model that has come in. My suggestion would be, given that we have a lot of working professionals who do come through the processes, set some time on a daily basis and a larger chunk on the weekends. And my colleagues, the recruitment team, do conduct application clinics. We will be here to support you and guide you so that you submit a strong application. So do not worry about the length of the form. What I would suggest is think about what you would want the form to capture from your experience. Again, I hope I've answered your question. Feel free to ask a follow up question as well. Hi, Nikhil. Welcome back.
Is it better now?
This is better. Yes.
Great, wonderful. Well, this is quite a lesson for all the students, all the volunteers who want to get into fellowship. It's a quite good lesson that
Right.
how we improvise in such situations. So actually I start once more. So
Sure.
I started my journey in 2020 at the same time when COVID hit the entire world. So the first year of my fellowship was entirely virtual. So
Right.
like I was saying that it was a very different fellowship compared to any other cohort because we were not just taking care of their academics. We were actually taking care of their where we were interacting with their parents on a day-to-day basis. We were interacting with their friends. We were working with communities to provide them ration and all of these things. So I guess the kind of learning which we had in that 1 year, especially during that first and second wave, the students used to call this day layout. Like at night in the morning, the parents are calling because for them, we were actually the source of anything and everything.
Right.
I'll try to speak loudly. That's what the students also say.
Which really highlights the nuances of the problems that exist in our communities, right, Nikhil? The depth of why our children face the problems will only be surfaced once we immerse ourselves and work with them. And the pandemic definitely threw different sets of problems, which means the fellowship also has evolving problems that we work towards, isn't it?
Absolutely, and also it's also a reflection of the society that how vulnerable it is. I'm not saying pandemic was a small thing, but at the same time, how we were not able to adapt to such a situation. I'm not even saying that the kids were going back to school. I mean, that's a far-fetched uh, dream which we were seeing at that time. Just to provide them 3 meals a day. Even that was a far-fetched thought which we were not able to because the resources were as it is. The resources were limited and the demands were basics. So, so yeah, I mean, just see, and it just shows that how vulnerable is our society, our community actually. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I also want to thank you for sharing these experiences. It brings out your vulnerability also in terms of the challenges you face. And your cohort definitely set the benchmark in terms of the adaptability required for the challenges we face, right? I would love to go back and hear a bit about your journey before you started the fellowship, during the application stage. How did you come to know about Teach for India? What led you to the fellowship?
Right. So my background and that's one of the best things about fellowship is that how people from different sectors they actually come together. So they actually blend together towards a significant cause, towards a common cause. Uh, my background is something where I come from a management background where I've done my graduation in the business management. Post that I was working in the advertising as a copywriter. I switched to strategy. Then I started working with a. Then I started working with Uber for half 1 year. I was working in communication, but at the same time, I was always inclined towards literature. Like literature was something which I used to consume day in day out, and I was a huge progressive, and that's something which I'm also working throughout my fellowship. I worked on progressive writers, PWA. I was very fascinated by the progressive literature which was written in the early 40s, the late 30s, and the early 40s in India. Because of that, and throughout my college, throughout when I was working in corporate sector, I always used to consume a lot of progressive literature. So what happened was I was always inclined towards the social sector because that was a literature which it catered towards the social sector. It catered towards the people who are in need. So my weeks used to be when I was working in corporate, but my weekends used to be dedicated to working in a NGO, working with some NGO, working with them, going to some rural places and doing something. Through that only, because when you meet such kind of people, you get to know about such opportunities. And obviously, Teach for India throughout my college, I knew about Teach for India, but I wasn't. My plan was never to apply for Teach for India to have that 2 years of commitment. But since I had these people who used to come to these, uh, used to work with us in these NGOs, I came to know about these Teach for India fellowship, and then my interest started. Uh, I started getting more interested about this cause, and I started reading more about it, more and more about it. I wanted to switch from corporate sector, and I believe that I was 25, and I thought that I'm getting too comfortable for my corporate life. It's giving me good money, it's giving me good lifestyle, but at the same time, that I'm not that satisfied. And I thought that this is the right age. This is the right age to move to switch the sector, because if I get too comfortable, I might not be able to. There are people who have switched at the later stage, which is recommended, which is absolutely amazing. I thought that this is the right age to switch, and that's what happened. I uh, I gave I resigned from my company and applied for Teach for India. So that's how I came to know through people who already or who were fellows or who already had done their fellowship in 2012, 2014, and right now they were working in these sectors, which I started looking up to them. So yeah, that's how I came to know about fellowship, and that's how my interest started building up for Teach for India.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us, Nikhil. Also, it just boils down to each individual, right? What is your orientation and inclination towards? What is giving you satisfaction? And what kind of exposure? Who are the people you're interacting with in terms of those conversations that matter to each other? Which makes me curious, Nikhil. What was the reaction of your family, your friends, when you shared about this switch that you wanted to make to the fellowship?
So actually, I was always inclined towards teaching when I was working also in my in corporate. I was working as a guest faculty in a lot of colleges. So I always loved teaching. I found like I was always so comfortable in front of these students. There always was an inclination towards teaching, and also I was a part of this organization. They used to hire volunteers for
Right.
kids, and I used to go to these schools. And coincidentally, there was a Teach for India school only, which I was in Singapore, Gangotri school. I was working with as a volunteer for that organization. So the reaction of my family, actually, my family has always been very supportive. I mean, my mother, I had good savings, so it was not that I was uh, becoming dependent on them. So I had my savings. I had this is a step which which was a it was not a it was not a rational step. Sorry, it was not an irrational step. It was I thought, and I knew that I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't want it to do a BA. because few friends of mine, they had already done BEd, and the kind of conversation which I had with the alums of Teach for India, the kind of exposure which they were getting, the kind of community they were a part of. So my interest and that was that I would be with people who have the same mindset as I have, who also at the same time they are coming back from their normal or regular jobs to actually give back to the society. So I mean, I thought that would be beautiful. I mean, a lawyer coming back, a person from communication, a doctor, a fresh graduate, a 45-year-old. I still remember in my cohort there was this sir who had retired from banking services and he wanted to work. So I mean, this kind of expertise, these kind of these kind of varieties, it helps to build a community and also learn from each other at every step. So that's something which is very special, and that's something which helped me in making my family realize that the step which I'm taking is not a step which I've thought over a night. It is a well planned step. So yeah.
Absolutely. It takes a kind of conviction to be able to commit to the program, knowing that the kind of impact you'll be making. There's a lot at stake, right? And I'm glad that your parents were supportive through the process. And the beauty of the fellowship is that it's diverse. Absolutely anybody can apply. There's no age limit. The least criteria is that you need to be a graduate, right? Um, I have a question from one of our viewers who want to know what are the deliverables, what are the responsibilities of a fellow. So while you're covering that, could you also tell us what did a typical day look like for you?
So I'll tell you. I'll break this into two parts. I'll tell you also about the virtual because I mean that's something which I lived for more than 2 years, for more than 1 year, and also physical classes because that's also something which I experienced in the later stage of my fellowship. Uh, so one thing is for sure, irrespective of virtual or physical classrooms, the kind of connect, the conversation, the relationship which you, the bond, it has to move out of a classroom. It's not like a day. It's not like a eight to two school. It starts at 8 a.m. and finishes at 2 p.m. The students will be reaching out to you. The students will be reaching out to you at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. They would be reaching out to you because they would need help at every step. And especially during the COVID times, they used to call us at any hour. And we used to be available because we knew that because, like I said, we were their source of any kind of assistance. So a day looks like when I used to start my school, the school used to start at 8 o'clock. We used to have a lot of team building activities with the government school teachers because that's also very important. TFI would only cater to English, social science, maths, and SST. So Hindi and Sanskrit would be something that would be taught by the school teacher. So it's very important for the TFI to blend very nicely to the school teacher because at the end of the day, you are working as a team. So we used to have a lot of team building sessions with the school team. Principal, we used to have discussions with the principal. They used to respect us a lot. They used to respect our opinions. They used to respect our ideas because of the kind of heritage Teach for India has, or the kind of fellows the Teach for India has given to that school. And that's something which is amazing when you know you are the youngest teacher in the school and still your opinions are being heard, not just heard, it's been acknowledged, and your ideas are being implemented. So that's something which Teach for India gives because you're a representative of Teach for India. So that used to happen, and then used to have our classes. We used to have a lot we used to have a lot of interaction with students, informal interaction with students. we used to have like our school used to I had started like because I was so fascinated by the progressive literature, so I used to have poetry sessions. I used to have debating sessions, all of these sessions where the students would just move out of the traditional academy. And post that we used to have after our school hours, when bus used to come back home, we used to have our LC. So I don't know if you're aware of LC's learning circles. So Teach for India also has a group. So for example, if you are a part of school A, there would be fellows from different school from your cohort. They would be part of the LC. So they would be sharing their own experiences. They would be sharing their own learnings. They would be sharing their own something which they are lacking. So there would be once or twice a week you would be interacting with them. You would be sharing your experiences, and at the same time you would be grasping their own experiences. So that would be happening. There would be some work which would where your program manager would be assigning you some work. You would be doing that work, and that's how it happens. And once a week, your program manager would be coming to your school, would be observing your classes, giving you feedbacks. That's something which you should not worry about getting feedbacks in at every step of your fellowship. You would be getting feedback from your program manager, from your fellow cohorts. You would be getting feedback from everyone. Alums, a lot of time alums would come to your classes just to observe your classes. So feedback is something like continuous learning would be there.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that, Nikhil. And that's also giving us a lot of glimpse as to what fellows are working towards and what kind of ecosystem they're working. So you're working in schools, but not in silos. You're working with the teachers who are already present there because, like you said, it's teamwork, right? Any kind of change we have to make, it can't be done alone. You're working with the existing curriculum, but you're also bringing in your interests, your passions. You're bringing that exposure for our children, which they otherwise wouldn't have. And your learning continues through different training spaces in the city with other fellows who are present there, with concrete feedback given you so you can evaluate what you're doing and how you're doing. Thank you so much, Nikhil, for sharing that, which also gives us a glimpse of what kind of people are we looking at. People who can envision what education is for our children, people who can set those goals accordingly, who are collaborative in nature, and who will persist through different challenges that they are faced. Nikhil, since you spoke about students and the people you worked with, I would love for you to share one experience or one such person who has a profound influence over you through the fellowship. This could be a student of yours, any peer or any staff, anybody through your journey. If you would like to share that example, that story with us.
Just a second, I'm just again trying to fix the audio. I'll just say
Sure. Sure, Nikhil. In the interim, we'll try to answer one question from one of our viewers. We have a question from Pratna. If someone missed a step during the fellowship process due to an emergency, can they reapply? So, if this is about the application process, Pratna, you can apply once in a cycle. So, you're most welcome to apply in the next cycle. Yeah. Nikhil, are you back with us?
just a second. Just give me 1 minute.
All right. Okay. We have a question from Sonal. What is the last date for the fellowship application? Thank you, Sonal. Very vital question. Our next application deadline is on 20 November. That's 20, not 28. 20 November is the next application deadline. So please keep a note of that. Yeah. Shabazz is asking what opportunities are available for us after this fellowship. Very crucial and one of the most asked questions, Shabazz. I'll come to that and we'll engage with Nikhil about that, and hopefully that will answer your question.
Is it any better now, the voice?
Much, much better, Nikhil, for
Oh,
sure.
thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Great.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so can you please repeat the question?
Sure, sure. So I was wanting to know about one experience, right, or one such person who's had a profound influence on you through the fellowship journey. This could either be a student, a peer or staff, anybody, if you could share with us that experience of yours, someone who's had a profound effect or influence on you through the journey.
Uh, so there were actually many. I guess if I'll have to talk about the student, I guess the zeal. I guess the zeal of students to come back from uh, from the COVID. I guess for them to come back, for them to be calling me, saying that because what happened because of the socio-economic background of the families of the students which we catered to, they were not able to bear the impact of COVID. So a lot of parents, a lot of families, they shifted back to their villages, and which meant that the students they might go back to school, but the kind of opportunities which they have been getting in Delhi, that wouldn't be there. And my school, Teach for India has been in my school for the past 7 years, so they knew the kind of opportunities Teach for India provides, and they knew that if they go to their village, they won't ever get it. So when the schools were closed, I used to get uh, these phone calls from my students saying that, "Sir, please talk to my father or talk to my mother. Tell them that we have to come back. I want to come back. Even if they don't want to, I'll stay alone." I mean, and you have to understand that this is a seventh grade student saying, a 12-year-old boy saying, a 13-year-old boy saying. And actually that happened. I had a word with one of the parent, and I told him, we arranged for a home, like for a rented house, for just a flat, for just a room in a flat. And this boy, a 12-year-old boy, was living there alone, just because he wanted to be a part of Sarvodaya school, because he knew that Teach for India is catering here. And he used to a 13 he used to take care of his food, he used to take care of his clothes, he used to come every day to school, and his parents were back there. He also, after a point of time, he started working also, which we didn't uh, approved of, but at the same time we couldn't do anything about it. So I mean, that kind of zeal, when you see that in the student, so automatically your eyes get up. Your eyes are, you don't need alarm for to get up. You automatically get up at 7 o'clock, and you know that you want to go to the school, because there is student who's coming over there with the hope that you will be coming to teach him or her, and he has that kind of, with those kind of aspirations and intent. That's a huge responsibility which you have to bear. And I believe each and every fellow in my school, they succeeded in doing that, and today that student is a part, he's now studying in a college in Delhi University. So
I'm so glad that that's the kind of intervention was there for you guys to enable. He did that, right? For a 12-year-old to make that kind of life choices is just not fair. That shouldn't happen to any child in our country, but that's the hard reality.
that's a hard real, absolutely. And like, I mean, no matter how much idealistically we look at the society, but at the same time, these are the realities. And I'm glad that he took that step. As much as I don't want any other child to take that step, or I don't want any other child to be in that situation to take that step, but we know that that's the harsh reality of of today, and that will happen. But at the same time, like they say that it's like survival of the fittest, strongest. So I mean, that's how you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's also, we know so many times in society the kind of problems that are existing, but the kind of mindset like this to keeps happening, what to do, that's not the mindset that we require. We need to do something about that, right? Which makes me wonder, Nikhil, what according to you are the top two skills or mindsets that are required in the fellowship or that the fellowship has taught you?
I guess it's one dedication for sure. You won't be able to survive in fellowship for 2 years if you're not dedicated for the cause. As simple as that. And like I said, no matter how idealistic it sound, that's the harsh reality. I mean, you have to be dedicated. I mean, there were few fellows. I mean, I won't lie, and I'll be totally honest about it. There were few fellows who dropped out of the fellowship in the first 6 months. Could be of any other reason, but I would again go back and say that it's A is dedication. You need to be dedicated for the cause. And once you get exposed to that kind of to you get exposed to those kind of information, to that kind of, like, you get primary information. Now you're not reading from Kailash Satyarthi's book that this is the harsh reality of life. You're actually seeing it, and it's very different. It's very different from the pages. It's very different when you see from your naked eye. And if you're dedicated to actually even change the life of one student, and if you survive for 2 years, and survive is the wrong word, if you enjoy 2 years, because see, till the time you won't enjoy what you're doing, you won't be able to survive for 2 years. So if you're able to finish a fellowship of 2 years, there would be more than 10 to 15 to 20 people, students, who would actually, whose life you would have impacted. So dedication is one, and second, I guess, and that happens a lot of time, I believe, that whenever we talk about social sector, whenever we talk about education inequity, whenever we talk about such topics, I don't know, automatically we get very serious. We get very serious. I don't understand. We get very serious. I And that's what I used to tell my 2021 and 2022 fellows, that you don't have to. I mean, see, something, yes, some situations are in which you have to be very sensitive. But I want these fellows, I want to have a good time, to enjoy. Because at the end of the day, if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, I so A, dedication, and B, you need to enjoy. You need to be excited to go inside that classroom every day, to have some activities with them, to laugh with them, to just like crack jokes, to have that kind of informal bond with them, which would, at the end of the day, come back to you. You will be happy, and that would actually prepare you for the other day, for the next day. So I guess these two things are, for me, it has worked. I enjoyed these 2 years. I made some amazing friends. Till today they are my friends. I made some amazing friends in terms of my co-fellows, alums, the new batch, and also at the same time, the teachers who were there at my school, and also at the same time the students. I still get their Instagram DMs. I still get their Facebook requests. So, and I still talk to them. They still tell me that, sir, please come to school. Sir, please come to school. We'll have a lot of fun and all. So I guess dedication was there. I was always dedicated, and second, I enjoyed these 2 years of my life. Absolutely enjoyed. So yeah.
I'm glad, Nikhil. And so rightly put, right, you need to love the work that you do. And you need to remember your why. Like, why are you there in the first place? And root yourself through the difficult challenges. And the fellowship may be of 2 years, but the bonds that you build are for a lifetime, right? I'm glad that's the kind of network you have, Nikhil. Um, which also brings me to the next point of life after. A lot of questions come after what after the 2 years. If you could tell us what kind of thoughts did you have about post fellowship, what kinds of questions did you have, and how did they get answered?
So I was quite clear that what I want to do post fellowship. I knew that I want to teach. I was pretty clear about that. And so I only looked into teaching opportunities which I was getting post fellowship from TFI only. But I like to actually talk about some other thing, like the same about for the same question. I don't want to talk about the job opportunities which you get after fellowship or during the fellowship, because those would be ample. Don't worry about that. The number of job opportunities you will be getting from TFI itself, that would be ample with each sector. But those 2 years, the 2 years the way you spend those 2 years, the kind of abilities you acquire in those 2 years, the tools which you get in those 2 years. Forget about, I want you to forget about thinking before joining that what will happen after 2 years. I just want to grasp anything and everything you can in these 2 years. The kind of people you will meet, your perspective would totally change. It would be broadened. So, I mean, all of these things which actually enhance your personality will bring the best out of you, and it'll happen in the latter stage of your fellowship that you won't even think about that would I be hired post the fellowship, because the kind of confidence you will gain in these 2 years, that would be something which would be more than anything else. So for me, I was quite certain that I want to stick to teaching. That is the reason I started looking for opportunities, and I started teaching just after my fellowship. I got an opportunity, and I got a wonderful opportunity, and yeah, and then I started teaching. But they have the kind of portfolios, the kind of opportunities what Teach for India provides you with the network, the kind of alum network. It's huge. The networking is huge, and no matter which sector you go into, the moment you say I'm a teacher and I'm a fellow of Teach for India, they would know you. They would understand that this student or this chap is dedicated for something, and now it's up to them how will they use you. So yeah, so that is it. So that was my journey post the fellowship, that uh, I uh, I looked only for teaching opportunities, which I got ample, and I reached one of them, and I'm still at that place. So yeah.
I love that point, Nikhil, how you're rooting us in the 2 years, right? Because the kind of work we do, the kind of work with children in terms of its impact is really important to really think of what am I going to do during those 2 years. And the options are plenty after the fellowship. Um, Pertaining to the 2 years, we have a question from Shahbaz. Is fellowship classroom centric only, or fellows will be exposed to other things?
So see, if the fellowship would be classroom centric only, I don't think so. I would be talking so much about enhancing your personality. I mean, then it would be as good as a BA degree. It would, if it would be just classroom centric. It's a huge community. I mean, in 2020, if I remember correctly, there were around 150 fellows from Delhi itself. If I'm not, I'm on an average, I guess it was somewhere around 140, 150. And now you have to imagine 150 fellows coming for their compatibility for a cause, and these fellows were coming from different sectors. They were coming from different sectors, bringing their different expertise and coming together for a same cause. I love this. I was talking to someone, like a non TFI person, and they were just asking me that what happens. Like, don't you have like a lot of, like, how can a lawyer, a banker, a teacher, from any other sector, they come together and work for a same purpose, work for a same cause. And okay, I asked him that what's your favorite dish. So he said, I love rajma. I like, wonderful. Because so what do you do is you take a cooker, right? You put rajma, you put water, but at the same time you put different masalas. Now what those spices do, each and every spice has its own taste, has its own offering to the rajma, to the main dish. So now once the rajma is prepared, you can't tell that, oh, you have a bite, you just have a spoon of rajma. You can't tell, okay, this is this person, this is this person, but you know that it is there. So that spice has its offering, this namak has its offering, this kali mirch has its offering. So it's very similar to how a TFI cohort looks like. A banker would be bringing his or her expertise. A ex-army man would be bringing his or her expertise. A lawyer would be bringing his or her expertise. A digital marketer would be bringing his or her expertise, and they would all be coming into towards the same cause. So that's how wonderfully the cause you're exposed to. And in terms of classroom, no, classroom is just one aspect of the fellowship. The learning which you get as an individual, I'm not talking about student learning, I'm talking about a fellow learning. The learning which you get as an individual is immense, because you get to learn from so many new people. You get to build that relationship, you get to build that bond, and at the end of the day you get to learn from each other. And that network is lifelong. I mean, once you become a fellow, I mean, no matter where you go, no matter where you are, you would always be associated with Teach for India, and they would always understand that this person has that depth in him or her, that he or she did a Teach for India fellowship. So that's amazing. I mean, that's something which can't be taken away.
That was such a beautiful analogy, Nikhil. Thank you for sharing that with us. Also, because the kind of work we do, the networks we have, the relationships are not transactional in nature, right? You can always reach out to anybody. Um, and we need people from different backgrounds to come in to strengthen the sector, because the problems are at different levels. It's not just in the classroom, it's not just kind of infrastructure, it's not just the lack of teachers of the kind of training or the leadership at school or beyond the community, which is why we need people from different sectors to come in and strengthen this. And speaking of sector, the Nikhil, what would you say about the development sector? There's so much myths around this sector. What would your insights be around this thing?
The same thing which I have already mentioned, that the moment we start talking about development sector, everyone starts getting serious, very serious about it. Somehow their foreheads would be shrinked. Automatically, their foreheads will get shrinked, and they would have this depth in their voice. It's nothing like that. I mean, it's similar to any other sector. It's more influential, absolutely. If a country needs to be developed, a social sector needs to be very strong. It needs to be assisted, and it needs to be strong. But at the same time, it happens a lot. I don't know why. A lot of people, a lot of students, and a lot of youngsters, they hesitate to get into sector, because they believe it's all about it's very serious work. It would be a lot of people. And or another myth, it's only for intellectual superior, like whoever they read books, or they talk about politics, or they people like that, like uh, intellectually superior people. But it's nothing like that. I mean, I can say that development sector is the most welcoming sector. Is the most welcoming sector. Another myth which is there in a developing sector, that it doesn't have money. Same thing which happened with me also, when I wanted to switch from corporate to development sector. A lot of my cousins and all, they started saying that you're earning so good right now, and you're just starting your career. Why do you want to switch to development sector? Probably work for 20-25 more years towards your retirement. Probably then start working towards the social sector. Then start be more inclined towards giving back to the society. I never understand that kind of ideology. I mean, we need we need the assistance today. Why do I need to wait for 35 more years, that when I'll turn 60, when everything in my life has been taken care of, then I'll move towards giving back to the society. And I've been working a lot of my friends have been working in the social sector. It's good money. It depends on what you have to offer as an individual. Social sector has a lot of money, especially since the time CSR has been mandatory for all the corporates, for all the organization. Now the CSR also has been mandatory for research, that now you can also now a company can also invest in research. CSR has sorry Social sector has a lot of money. It depends that how capable you are, and what are your offerings. Because if you want to be a part of a social sector, like I said before, you have to be very dedicated. You have to be a dedicated individual for a cause. You can't live your life, or you can't have that 9 to 5 job where you say that okay, 9 बजे ऑफिस चले गए, 5 बजे वापस आ गए, laptop closed, now done. It won't happen like that. You have to be dedicated. You have to keep on reading, writing, learning day in day out, and keep uh, enhancing yourself as an individual.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing that, Nikhil. And it's a key lesson for us to come in with an open mind, self check on any biases or stereotypes that we may have about the work or the sector, too, right? Keeping time in check, what I would love to reiterate before we move forward, couple of things about the logistics of the fellowship. You do not need any prior work experience to apply as long as you are a graduate. And if you're a final year student, you are still eligible to apply, as this is for the next academic year, 2023. Cohort applications are open. You do not need any prior teaching experience. Teach for India will provide you the training after you're selected and before the fellowship begins. Nikhil, we have our future possible fellows who are watching this conversation. Any last message, any key takeaway from your experience that you'd like to share with them?
Oh, I would stick to the same thing. I you would I guess a lot of people would be saying that yeah, we came here uh, to watch this, to get some motivation and get some inspiration from such stories. I won't be offering any of that. I'll be just saying that uh, throughout your fellowship, all you need to do is enjoy each and every day, enjoy each and every person, enjoy each and every relationship which you make, the bond which you make with the students. Because trust me, those bond will be lifelong. The fellows you are with, your cohort, you'll have amazing time with them during your LC meets, during your Insti. Like Insti is one of the best time period where you actually get to meet people from such various backgrounds. It's 2 years. All you have to do is start your day with a smile on your face and let it flow. Just let it flow. There would be bit of hesitation. You would get overwhelmed with the kind of content thrown at you, which because it's similar with every sector. If you switch sector or if you get into a new sector, you need to learn about it, you need to understand it. And it's that basics. If you grasp that basics, it would be a cakewalk. So my the only suggestion, the only request, or the only demand which I'll be making for from all of you is that just enjoy those 2 years of your fellowship, because trust me, you'll miss it once it's gone. I used to curse it that the I was we were not for the first year. All we had was virtual classrooms, virtual meetings, virtual LC meets. Everything was virtual, but still we had such beautiful bond. And once we started meeting physically, I mean that bond strengthened. Until today we have alum meets. I mean last month only we had alum meet, we had one of the alum meet. Over there we were just networking, we were just talking about that how can we collaborate to do something. Some fellow was working in Bangalore, I'm working in Delhi. How can we collaborate, how can we associate with each other? Because you understand, you have worked with those people for 2 years, you know what kind of mindset they have. You know that their mindset and their intent is very compatible to yours, so you would want to work with them each for at every step, however it is possible. So at that day only I got three collaboration. Like I like, okay, let's do this. How about that you come to our school, you get this thing done. They told me you come to our organization, have this session with them. So you would always, that's something which you would never get anywhere else, that kind of community. And that's something which I believe we are losing as a society. We're losing that age old community, that community gatherings where our where my instant human beings who are living just 100 meters away, they're distant neighbors, right? Where we just like where the physical proximity of a human being is taken over by the clarity of or the pixels of the videos. So all of these things have these things need to come back, the because nothing can take over that physical proximity of two human beings. So yeah, just enjoy your 2 years of fellowship. You'll have great memories, and I hope to see you, I guess, in one another session where we would be facilitating the cohort of 2023.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing with that. The power of the collective that you've highlighted, Nikhil. And my hope is that the people here present on this conversation will be your junior cohort members going forward. Um, People on this call, folks, my request to you would be if you have any questions that we've not been able to answer, you can write into us at apply.teachforindia.org and we'll do our best to answer your questions. And this is your chance. This is your chance to act. You're probably thinking about it. You have your intentions or inclinations in place, but you have to act in order to make a change in our children's lives. So do something meaningful, something impactful. Start. The first step is the application to complete that before November 20. Nikhil, it was such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I really appreciate, first of all, your step to join this movement and continuing the impact by being our alumni and for taking the time to be on this call. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and all the best for the for the prospects and the potential fellows of 2023. All the best to you.
All the best, everyone. Thank you for joining in and have a lovely evening.